5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Yes, no. Let's see if it starts. I'm pretty sure it will, but there we go. Bit too much on the volume. But here we go. I'm happy that we're here together, and I will have to edit that out slightly. We all need something to do, so it might as well be something useful. That's what we're going to talk about this morning when we talk about our free time and about our hobbies and about longevity. For those of you who are watching, my name is Toby. If I look a bit crumpled and muffled, you are right, because I got home at midnight last night and it's now 6 hours later, so I definitely did not hit my 7 hours of sleep, but I am 41 years old and I train to live an active, self-sufficient and adventurous life, and I like to talk about health and longevity, and you're in my podcast. I focus on longevity and health by minding my sleep. I usually try to get between 7 and 9 hours in a night. I do so by focusing on what I eat. I try to eat within my energy balance. I try to eat healthy. I try to eat a lot of greens and vegetables to maintain my weight and work with my appetite. And I try to eat sufficient protein to meet my muscle building, strength and training goals in order to maintain a healthy weight and to transfer some of that soft tissue that I have, some fat, into muscle over time. I also try to spend time with people I love and care about, do things that I enjoy, and generally try to live a stress-free life. And that's what we talk about in the podcast. We talk about health, fitness in general, and the little things we can do. And since it's Friday, we're going to talk about hobbies and mastery. And that's going to be always a fun topic because it's a bit outlandish in the realm of health, fitness, and longevity, but I think it's one of those topics that we need to talk about, because if we don't talk about it, we're never going to learn and understand and appreciate what it can actually do for us as we pursue a longer and healthier life. But let me kick this off by giving you a bit of context about why I find this important. And by the way, if you're watching and you enjoy the topic and the conversation we're having, go to my channel, hit like, subscribe. We can continue having this conversation over multiple videos and streams. Usually I wake up in the morning and I do a 30-minute workout, which I live stream as well, that you can check into. So there are a lot of opportunities for you to drop by, ask me questions, and look at how I've changed and I'm changing my lifestyle. But you need to like and subscribe for that. So I guess that would be the one thing that you could do. And if you're a regular on the channel and you want to help me out, go ahead and go to my channel and watch one or two of my videos beginning to end, because I'm trying to hit that 3,000 minute in watch time. And you would really help me if you would hop over to the channel and do that. Even if you just watch 1 minute every day, it would be tremendously helpful to me. But a whole episode would put more minutes in the bank, so to speak. That being said, right, usually I talk about my training, today's training, then we talk about today's topic, which is free time and how we fill that free time. And then we talk about one change. But as I have not been training because my foot is still recovering from a ghost injury, at least the swelling is down and the pain is gone, it is just easier to dive right into the topic that we want to talk about today, and that's what we do with free time. And since I'm running a bit late and the kids are about to wake up, I think cutting straight to the chase is definitely the way to go this morning, as my coffee slowly filters through and runs, and we're going to have a delicious cup of coffee to finish the conversation with. Let's see. Benu GK, thanks for dropping by saying hi. I appreciate you dropping by saying hi, and I hope you're doing well where you're at in the world. If you have any questions about health, fitness, longevity, or the thing that I'm talking about today, which is hobby, pastime, free time, you go ahead and ask. I'd be happy to answer a question, or maybe steer the conversation in a new and interesting direction. I am from Amsterdam, so I'm in the Netherlands. It's 6:41 a.m. right now. It is the start of the day. I usually do my streaming in the start of the day to have a conversation with people and to share some insights and also gain some insights about life, health, and fitness. So why do I find this important? Well, if you look at where we are as a state of health and fitness, the chances that I am going to be unhealthy are actually greater than the chances that I'm going to be healthy at the moment. That starts with, thank you very much. I appreciate you saying that. And I'm glad that that is the case. I appreciate you dropping by and spending some time here. The chances of being unhealthy are actually greater. Half the population suffers from overweight, and a proportion of them suffer from obesity. And being overweight in our middle ages, in our younger middle ages, our 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, is a pretty good indicator that maybe over time, as we become less active but continue to put on weight, we are developing, how should I put it, we are developing unhealthy, we are developing disease in our body that could be prevented. And it's not just about the weight and the fat, right? It's the lifestyle that actually leads to that. Because if you are able to maintain the same weight and the same level of activity over the course of those 30, 40 years, and that lifestyle continues into your 70s and 80s, it is more likely that you're going to carry that level of health into the future, okay? And I think it's important to note, right? We know that people can be healthy, but be overweight, and because of their active lifestyle, manage their health markers, but in the long term, the long run, we become less active, or it's more likely that we become less active. So that health benefit of movement and activity that keeps us healthy despite our body not being in the best shape it could be in, is going to catch up with us at some point. That's the way I look at it. Other people might look at that differently, but I think health and fitness are an accumulation of habits and lifestyle, and I think that the biggest levers we can pull are sleep, food, and exercise, and those are very hard to, especially exercise, to keep doing at an appropriate level as we age if we don't set up proper habits earlier in life. But that's a bit of an aside of the bigger topic of general health and fitness, right? And then from health, fitness to health, fitness, and longevity. Longevity is really about staying as healthy as we can for as long as we can, right? So like I said, you can be healthy and fit right now, but carry with you maybe problems that are under the radar unless we address them and learn to understand what causes them early on so that we can prevent or reverse them as we go through life and living. But health, fitness, and longevity is more than just staying fit and healthy physically. It's also about understanding ourselves, our role in the world, what we can contribute, the value we can bring to communities, and then looking at what we can do to build relationships and connections, to participate and contribute to communities, to connect with other people, whether that is through friendships or through social interactions that are based on common interest or shared interests. And another part of that is doing things that we enjoy doing, that are stimulating our minds, that are stimulating our motor skills, that are stimulating us to learn new things, to stay focused on what we are capable of as a person living today. And that's what this topic is about. So it's not about food today, it's not about sleep, it's not about movement or training or sport and play, even though those topics will come up and you'll see why in a moment. It's not about connecting to people or contributing to your communities. This one's really again about you and me as individuals, and things that we can do every day or once a week or once in a while that are fulfilling to us, that give us a sense of fulfillment, that give us a sense of joy and pleasure. And because we're doing that, because we're enjoying ourselves, because we're having fun, because we are learning something new, we are going to feel competent, capable, like we're growing, like we can do new things. We're going to derive maybe a sense of self-worth from what we are able to achieve, and that is going to feed into our overall sense of well-being, and that's why that's important. Let's see, which is better, performing yoga exercise in the morning or evening? I think that's a great question, and I think the answer is whatever works best for you. I'm sure there is some research that shows that, for example, that if you've been sleeping, your muscles are stiff, and you wake up and you start to stretch, you won't be able to stretch as much. I'm sure that's completely true. And I'm sure that there's research that shows that if you work out in the evening, it's harder to fall asleep, so it's better to work out earlier in the day. Right? So better, in that sense, is relative on what you prioritize, but also on what works for you. I always say health and fitness is very personal, and mind you, I'm not a doctor, a medical professional, personal trainer, so I don't know your circumstances. But in my experience, the best time to do anything is the time that it fits your schedule and your needs and your demands, and the time that you can do it regularly. Because if you are able to do yoga regularly at 8 o'clock in the evening over the course of 4, 5, or 6 years, that's where you're going to see the benefit, not if you can do it once in a while at 6 o'clock in the morning, if that makes sense. So it's the consistency that's more important, and it's easier for us to consistently do things at a time that fits our schedule and to do things that we enjoy. So I hope that answers your question. It's a great question. I appreciate you asking it. And Benjamin Hollingworth, welcome back. I think I've seen you on the chat before. I hope you're doing well, and I appreciate you dropping by and saying hi this morning. And I'm glad to have you here on the stream, and I hope that the things we're talking about are interesting. Let me know in chat, and I hope you've been well and are going to continue to do well wherever you're at in the world. So that's why having a hobby to fill our free time with is important. And there are a couple of things here that we need to understand about time. And people often ask me, when do you work out? I say, 5 a.m. They're like, what? Do you sleep? I say, yeah, I'm in bed at around 8:30 or 9:30 latest. And they're like, but don't you miss doing stuff in the evenings? So, well, what are we doing in the evenings? Last night I had a work event and I was out till midnight, but now I'm here at 6:30 a.m., right, talking to you. So it's not impossible to go out and do things, but it is rarer and very purposeful when I skip an evening of sleep or skip a couple of hours of sleep once in a while. I said, well, no, you know, are you sitting on the couch watching Netflix? Because that's what I stopped doing. Okay? I stopped sitting on the couch streaming 1, 2, 3 hours a night, and instead took that time back and brought that time to the morning, where I usually am more awake, I'm an early riser, I have more energy, I feel like getting out of bed and doing things rather than lying in bed and sleeping. And by swapping that, I created a lot of time for myself to do things that I enjoy, to do things that I believe are helping me improve in my health and fitness and my journey in life. So just keep that in mind. The concept of what our free time is one thing, and what we do in our free time is another. There's nothing wrong, let me be very clear about this, there's nothing wrong with sitting on the couch and watching something, okay? I do it sometimes. Everyone should do it. It's a form of entertainment, it's a pastime. But what has happened over the years, and here's some shocking statistics, like people watch, 2.5 hours of TV a day, and we're spending hours and hours, I think like an hour or 2 or 3 hours a day scrolling through things on our phone. That's 5 hours a day. Right? Just think about that for a second. Even if you take 30 minutes off any of that, right, to spend on a hobby, something that is not sitting back and being entertained or distracted or consuming information, but that is forcing us to actively participate, to lean in, to think, to learn something new, to try new things, to develop new neural pathways, to store new information, to learn how to move in a different way. Even if it's just 30 minutes a day, you still have 4.5 hours to distract yourself, okay? But we're doing more and more of less and less. Okay, you can quote me on that. Maybe that should be a t-shirt. We are doing more and more of less and less, okay? And that is not helping us live longer, healthier, fulfilling lives, being capable, competent, and having an adventurous life, okay? What we need to reconsider is what we want to do with the time we have. Another pressure on your time might be that there's too much work and too many things that need to be done in a day because you are responsible and you are facing challenges, right? That's a different kind of demand on our being. And that makes this even harder because it's easy to stop watching TV, but you can't just stop working because you're committed to it and you need the money to pay the bills, right? You can't stop caring for your children after work, if that's the case, or caring for a dependent, could be anyone, after work, because that needs to get done. And still, in that mix, there are little things in terms of sleep, in terms of food, in terms of activity and movement that we can do to try to improve our general health and fitness. But it is not always as easy, right? It's easier to take time away from excess free time than it is to find time in an excessively loaded schedule. But try to find the time we need to, even if it's just 10 minutes at the end of the day. The other day, what we're trying to do with our kids is sit down and color. And I sit down with them and I grab a couple of pencils and one of those coloring sheets and just sit down and color them in. And they sit and they start concentrating and coloring them in. I'm practicing my motor skills, I'm practicing color composition, like I'm trying to match up colors that go together rather than colors that don't go together to make it not too random, but a symphony of colors. And it's 10 minutes at the table in silence where we're working on that. And they are also developing their motor skills, but we're also spending time together and they're talking and they're chatting and they're telling me things. But another pastime could be learning how to cook. Yeah, because we need to eat. But learning new recipes or learning new types of cooking or new styles of cooking or new ways of preparing food And maybe if you're pressed for time, it is, well, I really only have 30 minutes to prepare a meal. Okay, how can we learn to make fresh, home-cooked, wholesome meals in 30 minutes with minimum ingredients in the oven or in a pan? What's it going to take? What do I need? What skills do I need to develop in terms of setting the menu, procuring the food, preparing the food, cooking the food, right? And then learning how to do that well. That is a skill that might serve you extremely well, given the time pressures that you're under. Could also be breakfast or lunch, right? But learning how to cook is also one of those things, and it's actually just like what we're doing with the drawing. It hits multiple factors of this idea of health and longevity being, something to do with sleep, with food, with movement, with connection, with mastery, right? Because you're doing multiple things. You're learning something new. You can do it with other people. You can cook for other people. You can cook for yourself. You can cook for other people. You're minding your food. And there might be some activity involved in going to and from the supermarket or standing in the kitchen and moving around, right? It's an active thing. The same goes for a hobby like I have, martial arts, judo, where you go and you practice skills, but you do that with a group, and it's a social thing, and you're learning something new, and you're using your body. So there are a number of different aspects of the factors that will help us live longer, healthier lives intertwined in that hobby. But find one of those things to do, and finding one of those things to do is important. So we want it to be something that gives us a sense of satisfaction, something that gives us a sense of growth, something that gives us a sense of accomplishment, something that we can do for ourselves, that we might be able to do in a social context, and something that could relate back to food, a cooking class outdoors, for example, because these things can change over time, right? It doesn't have to be a lifetime commitment. It can be something new every 6 months, right? Or dancing, right? And it could be something physical, but it doesn't have to be. It could also be something mental or creative, but something that we can spend at least 10 minutes and maybe an hour, every other day or once a week on, or 10 minutes every day to improve our sense of well-being and our sense of self-worth, because we become good at something like drawing. If we take cartoon drawing or pencil drawing, at first it's quite hard to do, but if you stick with it every day over the course of the year, you're going to see tremendous improvement in your skill and ability. So something worth considering. Benjamin, thanks. I'm glad it resonates. And it's something that I believe in, and that I think we need to remind ourselves of once in a while, that it's not all about the fitness and the lifting the weights and the way we eat and optimizing our sleeps. That's all very individual, but there's also us in the world, and our us in terms of how we develop in our minds. So yeah, I think the one small change that I would ask you to make is for us to look at, where there is some time of the day that we are filling with distraction right now, and to try to fill that time instead with something worth doing. So for example, origami, taking a little square, thin sheet of paper, and there are a ton of simple origami videos on YouTube, literally huge channels. I'm shocked. I should have done that 15 years ago. But you can take a sheet of paper, put your phone up to learn, right? Or print out the instructions, but I think sometimes watching a video is easier. And just spend 10 minutes trying to fold that jumping frog or that little bird, right? And the first day it's not going to work out, and the second day it's not going to work out, and the third day it's not going to work out. But probably by the fourth or fifth attempt, you're going to get a pretty good grasp of how the folding works and where your skill is at, and you can learn maybe something about how to fold better, the type of paper you need, the history of origami. And you can make these little things, and they're fun to make, and it's a great pastime, for example, in the train, or while you're waiting for someone to arrive for a coffee date or lunch date, and you can just sit, and rather than being on your phone and consuming information, entertaining or distracting yourself, you're actually developing a skill, and you're working with your body, right? And you're learning how your body works, and you're learning the limitations of your fine motor skills with something like origami. So give origami a try, right? And if it's not that, then it might be something else. You might pick up a word puzzle, or you might pick up sketching, or you might pick up searching for a recipe, or learning how to prepare a certain recipe, and doing the shopping for that. There are different things that we can do, but the small change that we're going to try to make is, when we find ourselves waiting, instead of taking out our phone, we're going to take out a piece of paper, and we're going to start folding. And you can leave a comment under this video or any other video with telling me what you folded. Let me know. I'd be very curious to hear. And that is how we're going to start finding time for a little hobby or pastime that we can consistently go back to. All right? And yes, origami folding can also be a social thing. Jindal, I'm glad to hear that my kids love it as well. It's a fun pastime. We do it in winter occasionally, and I always find it harder than I think it will be. YouTube Punk, thanks for dropping by. I thought you were talking about the origami being genius, but you're referring to my epic glasses, because I have slept so little I didn't want to put in lenses this morning. My eyes are just going to fall shut at one point throughout the day. Thanks for dropping by, everyone. Thanks for saying hi, YouTube Punk. I hope you're doing well, Jindal. I hope you're doing well where you're at in the world. And YouTube Punk, I hope you are ready for a good weekend, and that life in Texas is a-okay. Remember, we're good just the way we are. We've got to love ourselves before we can move on. It's the person we are today. It's going to get us to where we want to be tomorrow. So a bit of kindness is going to go a long way. All right? And there are enough people out there who want to put us down, so we lift ourselves up, and we help each other and work together to, get to a better place of health, fitness, and potential longevity through the habits we have. We talk about sleeping well, we talk about eating well, we talk about moving well, we talk about connecting well, and we talk about having fun with something that we enjoy. So we talk about doing well in general. That's it for today. I have a date with a pan and some pancake batter to prepare for the kids before they wake up. The only way to get anything done is by showing up and doing the work, friends. So I will see you tomorrow. Hopefully I'll be able to exercise again, so there'll be a mobility stream. And remember, you beat me to it, YouTube Punk, because you know me so well. Hit like, subscribe, help me get to those 3,000 minutes of watch time. Watch a full video, share it with a friend, and let's help this channel grow. All right, friends? If I don't catch you over the weekend, I look forward to catching you next week. But I will be back otherwise tomorrow with a talk about motivation. And Benu GK, Benjamin, Jindal, YouTube Punk, thank you all for dropping by and for dropping by in the chat. Take care. And remember, friends, subscribe.